Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? And I hope you're all enjoying the first few days of 2023. And I'll be doing book reviews throughout the year, and I've already started uploading my book reviews for this year. And the second book that I'm going to be reviewing is called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. So there's two versions of this book. There's just the normal version, but this one includes another section called The Mastery of Destiny. The book is very it says it's an original 1902 classic. It was written before its time, like quite a long time ago. And what I've done is there's so many things in this book that I wouldn't be able to do a review that wouldn't last under like an hour. So all I've done is taken a few notes, which I'm going to share. And then what I'm also going to do is to read you a few sections from a few chapters that I've got here. So it's quite, if you look at it, you can see it's quite a thin book to read. It can be read quite quickly. And so what I'm trying to do is just review books that I've either interested in myself, and most of them are like personal development type books. Some of them are going to be self-esteem, some are going to be relationship books, and I'll just review them, and then you can decide if you're interested. So one of the things it says in the book is that whatever your present environment may be, you will fall, remain, or rise with your thoughts, your vision, or your ideas. So you will become as small as your controlling desire, as great as your dominant aspiration, and in all human affairs there are efforts and there are results, and the strength of the effort is the measure of the result. Now, he does speak in a way that's you have to really pay attention and follow it in that sense, because it's sometimes you have to reread the sentence as well. That's just his style of writing, and obviously that's because of the time it was written in, and also just his personality. It does sometimes it's tricky to follow what he's saying. You have to reread it, but for me it still makes a lot of sense, and it's still very interesting. So that part is about the environment, and then it just says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So that's a famous saying that most people have heard of. As a man thinketh, so is he. It says it embraces the whole of a man's being and reaches out to every condition and every circumstance of a person's life. So a man is literally what he thinks. His character is his sum of all of his thoughts. This is essentially what the book's about. The book is about whenever we speak to, it says man, but obviously includes women as well. It's about all of mankind. Whatever our thoughts are, that is what represents who we are, because your thoughts are the things that end up becoming you. So if you have thoughts of it, throughout the book it kind of emphasizes this. It gives lots of examples. So if you have thoughts of thoughts towards other people, or it talks about examples of people who have criminal thoughts in their head, he says that, that will end up with someone acting on those thoughts. And for me as a counsellor, that's really important, because how people think about themselves, whether they think that they have high self-esteem, whether they have self-critical thoughts, whether they have thoughts that are damaging or negative. Any thoughts a person has, they will translate, and it's saying not only will they translate into action, but they'll also translate into the character and the whole being of a person. So in this book, it says that man is the master of the thought, the moulder of his character, and the maker and shaper of his condition, his environment, and his destiny. Man holds the key to every situation. So there's loads in here. I could go on forever. It talks about willpower. Willpower is one of the foremost duties of man. Fixedness of purpose is at the root of all successful efforts. Cultivating willpower includes breaking off bad habits, forming good habits, giving scrupulous attention to the duty of the present moment, doing vigorously and at once whatever has to be done, living by the rules, controlling your tongue and controlling your mind. Now, when I'm reading it, it's just me basically reading bits of the book. But this book is powerful in so many ways, because not only because of when it was written and the fact that he had these thoughts to start with to put a book together that is still relevant now than it was in 1902, but I think it's the key thing about this idea of whatever we want we can have, but we have to sort of believe it's possible, but also that we can become the type of person we want to be. So there's a few bits in here which are highlighted now. I've literally highlighted so many sections, but I'm just going to read through a few of the things. So it says, man's mind might be likened to a garden which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild, but whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. Just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers and fruits which he requires, so may a man tend to the garden of his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless and impure thoughts and cultivating towards perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful and pure thoughts. So it's back to this idea which is running through the book of, if you're having useless thoughts that are not serving you, if you're thinking bad things, bad deeds, ill will towards other people, if you're a negative person in your thinking, if you are just whatever the thoughts are that are not helpful but also that are negative, they're going to produce within you as a person. So it's, I mean, I'm not explaining it probably the best, but it's really a powerful book, and I think you have to read it. It is definitely, I gave this book, I think, 8.5 out of 10, so that just shows you what I think of it. I'm not explaining it probably the best, but it's just, yeah, there's another quote in here. Every man is where he is by the law of his being. The thoughts which he has built into his character have brought him there, and in the arrangement of his life there is no element of chance. So this is another thing, you know, everyone talking about some so-and-so is in this position because of good luck, or it's because of who they knew, or it's because they were born a certain colour, or they were born in a certain time, or they were born into a certain family. Well, this is sort of disputing all of that. It's saying that you're there by your thoughts because you chose to think a certain way, and that led you down a certain path. And I agree with it to a certain point, because I'm not saying that everyone is born without, I mean, I don't think that just because someone is born with, say, money, or they're born into a certain family, or they're born with a title, that's not their choice because they're born into that. And yeah, it gives them a leg up as well, so that's, no one can dispute that. But that still doesn't mean that someone who isn't born with those things can't make choices that elevate their life. You know, there's, I mean, that's a different discussion altogether. And then it talks about the soul attracts that which it secretly harbours, that which it loves, and also that which it fears. It reaches the height of its cherished aspirations. It falls to the level of its unchastened desires, and circumstances are the means by which the soul receives its own. So if your circumstances do not make the man, it reveals him to himself. So if you're secretly, it talks about this when it talks about crime, or when people are having sexual thoughts, or people are having thoughts about money, or whatever your thoughts are, it's saying that they will then produce themselves. So if a man is secretly sitting there thinking about sexual fantasies towards women or negative thoughts, they're not just thoughts, because what they're saying is eventually that man's going to act on that. Maybe they're going to go out there and sexually assault someone. Maybe they're going to go out there and you know, act inappropriately towards another woman. But that didn't just happen. And that's why when people keep using things, I suppose, like, I only did this because I was drinking, or this was out of character. Me, I don't believe in words like, that wasn't me, or it wasn't myself, or I'm out of character, because there's no such thing. You're always yourself. You're just showing a different side. And when you show a different side of your character that you're not proud of and you're ashamed of, you then say, that's not my character. But it's you, it's still you. Those thoughts were deeply buried, but they've just come out in a different way. So it talks about good thoughts and actions can never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions can never produce good results. This is but saying that nothing can come from corn but corn, nothing from nettles but nettles. Men understand this law in the natural world and work with it, but few understand it in the mental and moral world. So he is really clear in states of your moral duty towards human beings, your mental capacity to change your thoughts so that you produce different things. But he says that people don't always act on that, and there's a lot of things in this book where he talks about the duty of a man, and you know, the fact that if you're a man and it's mainly focusing on men, but I think it's for both really. He just talks about this idea of if you're someone that has goals and dreams and aspirations, and you're someone that knows what your role is in the world as a man, then you're going to act in a particular way, and that you are going to be act in a way morally, you're going to act in a way financially, you're going to act in a way ethically. There's no doubt that you're going to do that. But then it says, if you're someone, it says here, until the thoughts that you have is linked with purpose, then there is no intelligent accomplishment. People who have no purpose in their life fall an easy prey to worries, fears, troubles, and self-pity, all of which are indications of weakness, which led just as surely as deliberately planned sins to failure, unhappiness, and loss, because weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe. So there's so many powerful things in this book, but what he's basically saying is that in this world where everything is based on status and based on achievements, based on character, then if you're someone that is not willing to put like the work in to understand what your purpose is in life, but also the work to do the self-development, then you will fall prey to becoming, someone who's quite vulnerable in this world, because you will feel unhappy that you're not where you want to be. There's another section which, because as I said, it's short, but it's got loads of things in there. It's literally every sentence or every paragraph has got some sort of wisdom. So I couldn't really narrow it all down into this review. He talks about this idea of purpose as a central thing in life, really, and that there was a section what I was reading one time where it was just talking about men who don't achieve what they want to have in life, and then how that impacts on them. Because he's not talking about being a provider for another person or being a head of a family household, even though he delves into that. It's more of like the purpose for yourself. So if you know you're not doing your best, if you know you're behaving in an average way, if you know that you're not achieving what you want to achieve, you're not going to feel fulfilled, because you're kind of just floating along. And so there's bits in there about that. So the only other bit where I've highlighted is about a chapter called The Thought Factor in Achievement. All that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own thoughts. In a justly ordered universe where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity and impurity are his own and not another man's. They're brought about by himself and not by another, and they cannot only be altered by himself, never by another. His condition is also his own and not another man's. His suffering and his happiness are evolved from within. As he thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains. A strong man cannot help a weaker unless that weaker is willing to be helped. And even then the weak man must become strong of himself. He must be his own efforts, develop the strength which he admires in another. None but himself can alter his condition. So I think that sums up the book, really, that I know it's, for some people they're going to say, well, it's not realistic for these times, or they're going to say it's very much putting the focus on individuality and not on community and all these sorts of things. But I think it's deeper than that. It's trying to say we can become all we want to be. We have the power within us, but it starts with our thoughts. It starts with us recognizing our purpose. It starts with us believing that it's possible. So it is more of this law of attraction stuff, self-belief, self-confidence. And I think it is relevant for today's times, because for me it is just a really brilliant book. I've heard it on the audiobook a few months ago, I think, but then I bought the book itself. So it's As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, and I give this book 8.5 out of 10 because I just think it's got so many things that I can relate to, and so many things in there that are really just quite knowledgeable. So I hope you found this book review useful. I said I'd try and keep these reviews under 10 minutes. This one is heading towards 15 minutes, but they'll never be longer than that. I do realise that, because sometimes I'm trying to narrow it down, but I also want to give you an idea of the book in case you want to buy it, so that you know a little bit what it's about. Please let me know what you think. If you read the book yourself, you can put your own little mini review in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye.